Hello, everyone. Thank you for being with us today. Before we start our press conference, let me introduce to you some of our dignitaries that have agreed to be with us and to speak. First and foremost, our attorney, Ashley Moody, for the state of Florida. Simply the very best. Her goal is, when she wakes up every day, to make sure this is the safest place to live in the entire United States, and she does that. And to cooperate, because she believes, and you'll hear her say this, like I do, that nothing's more important than your safety and security. If you're not safe and you don't feel safe, you don't flourish, you don't thrive. And then we have today our Department of Corrections Secretary, Ricky Dixon. He's going to speak second. Ricky Dixon is a dear friend of mine. His dad was a warden. He started at an entry-level position and is now the Secretary of Corrections for the entire state. He is a professional in the greatest sense of the word, and we are fortunate that the governor appointed him as our Secretary over Corrections. I can't say enough about Brian Haas. He's going to speak third. Brian is our state attorney, and Brian is our teammate. He is the one that prosecutes all of our cases locally. He is the one that works side by side with me and our chiefs that are here today to make sure that the people of Polk County are safe, and they are. Our crime's at a 50-year low. You're going to hear us speak of some horrible things by some horrible people, but that doesn't represent the safety and security of the county as a whole or the different cities. But it shows our energy to make sure everyone is safe, and we're not going to allow these horrible people to hurt other people in their gangs in the community. The next speaker is Mark Brucknell with Florida Department of Law Enforcement. He's a special agent in charge for this area. Mark is a good friend of mine and is a dedicated crime fighter. If it weren't for the Attorney General, if it weren't for FDLE and our police chiefs, we could not have successfully done this investigation. It just couldn't have happened. Normally, when you hear me talk about gangs and gang activity, we never mention the name of the gang. And the reason for that is we don't want to market for them. But sex, money, murder, which is a subset of the United Blood Nation gang, is so violent. They're so ruthless. They're so dangerous. We need to bring to the community's attention what they are doing. Now, they're focusing on those who sell drugs, trap houses. They're focusing on other gangbangers. They're focusing on other criminal elements, but let me explain something to you. You're going to see today a group of people, young people, some of them in their teen years, some of them in their 20s, but all young people. And it's never all right to rob, shoot, kill other young folks. Sex, money, murder prides themselves in creating fear in the gang communities and in the drug communities. Pistol Pete, who started this gang in the 90s, is currently serving a life sentence in prison. But here's what he said, and I think the gang name of sex, money, murder says it all. He says, we get sex because we get money. We murder anyone who F's with our money. And they're not just saying that, they're killing people. There's home invasion robberies of our drug dealers, drive-by shootings in neighborhoods, and murder. So you might ask, well, how violent are they, Grady? Well, think about this. They went into one home invasion and pistol whipped an 8-year-old child. Did you hear what I said? They pistol whipped an 8-year-old child. And if that's not bad enough, they did a home invasion at another place that sold drugs and placed their gun to a 3-month-old head and told the parents, give it up. And you know what's next if they didn't. They think nothing of having drive-by shootings in the streets. Nothing of it. They don't care about the neighbors. They don't care about the danger that they create. So in 2018, 2019, we saw a lot of these gangbangers rolling out of state prison. They had already done terms in prison where Brian Haas's assistants had prosecuted them in past years for robbery, for use of a firearm, possession of a firearm. The moment they're out of prison, they're doing the same thing again. And that's why it's important for you to understand why we undertook an investigation I'm going to explain to you of such magnitude. If they're not in prison, they're robbing, shooting, and killing. They're just going to. They've shown that all along. So when we talk about our investigation today, it's not just the Lakeland, Auburndale, Eagle Lake, Winter Haven, Haines City, Lake Wells area. Sex, money, murder is a nationwide gang. So in 2018 and 19, for example, there was a guy that sold dope, cannabis, you know, that low-level nonviolent drug. They went to his house to rip him and shot and killed the mother of children who was simply cooking dinner that night. Why? Because she was there and she got in the way of the bullets as they shot up the house. And then in May 2020, there was another person shot down in the street. That's right. Those two cases we haven't made any arrest on. Those were the first two cases in over a decade that our homicide team was not able to solve. Do you know why? No one's talking. They're either gang related and or they're scared to death of the gangsters. And then there was the shootings in the neighborhoods throughout the cities across this county. So despite our best efforts to solve those two homicides, to get people to talk, they were afraid to. Despite our ability to infiltrate, we were unable to. So we did intensive investigative efforts to put people in jail, and we were arresting people and sending them to prison all along the way, but we weren't slowing down the problem. So in May of 2021, we asked our top cop in the state, Ashley Moody, our Attorney General, and her team, can you help us out? For the first time in the history of Polk County, we did a gang wiretap. We call them T3s. That's right, where we listen to social media apps, where we listen to cell phones and their communications through court orders. This is a very complicated process, and it only could occur because of wonderful people that Ashley has working with her, such as our prosecutor on this case, Michael Filto. So when our detectives, working with FDLE, started writing the probable cause, it took not just weeks, but months of articulation to show this ongoing gang activity. And in September 24th of 2021, we began to intercept telephone calls and social media. Oh yeah, gang members, listen up. We can intercept your social media. You can't pay attention to all that hype you hear. We got it, and we got them because of it. As a result of intercepting 9 court-ordered intercepts, we were able to obtain 12 racketeering charges with gang enhancements. against the sex, money, murder members. That first-degree felony of racketeering is 30 years. When you do a gang enhancement, it's life. Our goal is that they never breathe air outside of a prison again. But if that was not great enough, because of the work of this team, we were able to obtain racketeering warrants and criminal charges on the entire hierarchy for the state of Florida. That's right, from the top gangster and sex, money, murder, all the way through the hierarchy, we were able to get racketeering life felony charges. In addition to that, we were able to get a life felony charge on the head of sex, money, murder from North Carolina, who we hooked up in this investigation. Now, while all this is going on, we began a gang task force in Polk County to include the Auburndale Police Department, the Haines City Police Department, Lake Wells Police Department, FDLE, and of course, the State Attorney's Office and my detectives. Why did we do this during the same era? Because there are other gangs, I like to call them baby gangs, who are also shooting and robbing in the streets. Why did we start that game? Because in 2021, Haines City PD made an arrest after a young man died. He died swimming in Lake Apopka. When they buried him here, gang members danced on his grave while they videoed it. There was an arrest made. That would have upset anybody, and it certainly set off the gangsters who didn't like each other to begin with. January 30th, we had the murder of a 20-year-old in a running gun battle just outside the city of Winter Haven. Our state attorney, Brian Haas, just indicted 3 of them for first-degree murder, and that investigation's also underway. As you can see, we've already made 7 arrests with our gang task force, and we have just begun to arrest gangsters in this particular operation. We're blessed in that no innocent bystanders have been killed yet, but their houses and their cars have been shot up, and bullets have missed folks who didn't deserve to be shot at. They simply happen to live in the area. We're going to make more arrests. But before I go through my cards, I want to introduce you to, or reintroduce you to, a dear friend of mine and simply the best Attorney General in the United States, Ashley Moody. She and her team are why we were able to do this. General?
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Sheriff, and we really appreciate you being here to shine a light on some really, really courageous, brave, talented, experienced, motivated, mission-driven law enforcement officers without whom our communities would not sleep as well at night. And one thing should be clear before we begin: evil lurks in our communities. There's no doubt about that. And I'm not just saying that because I've seen it firsthand as a federal prosecutor or as a judge or even as a mother. Evil lurks in our communities, and the folks here standing with me today can attest to that. Evil is a person who holds a gun to the head of a 3-month-old. Evil is a person who pistol whips an 8-year-old. Evil is a person who would take the life of another with no regard for human life. Evil indeed lurks in our communities, and without the brave men and women of law enforcement who dedicate their lives to these careers, we could not contain it. And evil must be contained. And that means taking dangerous people out of our communities and putting them behind bars where they cannot hurt anyone else. And the people here in this room who have seen and will never forget unconscionable acts, evil acts, know that without that containment, without removing those dangerous people from our streets, people will be hurt. And so because of that, as Attorney General, I will never make an apology, and I will never stand down from supporting these brave men and women that do this hard work day in and day out and separate our communities that want to live in peace and stability from evil. Hollywood and other people will glorify gang membership and gangs, and I'm so supportive of not using the names of gang leaders or the names of gangs, because I refuse to give them any credit or glorify them in any way, and I appreciate the sheriff agreeing with that. But this gang is particularly dangerous and insensitive to human life. Gang members are merchants of death. They sell poison, they traffic drugs, they murder, they harm, they break into homes, they rob people at gunpoint. And no one in our community should have sympathy for people who would inflict that harm on a community. And while they are sometimes glorified, it is not a life that anyone should seek. None of the people here will ever let up until they are in prison. Many will die in prison because we refuse to let them harm or murder people in our communities. Those that do not will oftentimes run in fear, as they should, because we won't stop hunting them down. These cases are about collaboration between city law enforcement, county law enforcement, state law enforcement, statewide prosecutors, and specific circuit prosecutors. The great thing about this victory today, and I would call it a triumph of good over evil, is that this was not about any pride of any one particular agency or any one particular prosecutor. This was a collaborative effort, and the pride comes from the success of that joint operation. No one has any pride standing up here. The pride we have is that we have taken dangerous people and removed them from the communities, and that they will not plague the state of Florida any longer. It was detailed work, and I'm going to thank somebody. Where's our investigator? What, you want to introduce your investigator? Is she here?
Christy Dolan.
Christy?
Yes.
Christy, come up here. You're hiding. This investigator right here, Christy Dolan, is one of the reasons that this case came together. And we're all trying to figure out how we can hire her away from the Department of Corrections. But she is indeed a shero. She's one of the good guys, and we appreciate you. Thank you for doing this important work. Those in the Department of Corrections are sometimes overlooked for the important work they do. But they are just as important part of this operation and the safety apparatus within Florida, and you are a shining example of that.
Thank you.
But this was detailed work, and let me just say, Sheriff Grady Judd stands up here and with all his heart and with all his passion tells you about what they are doing, not just to make Polk County safe, but our state safer. And folks know him from standing here in front of cameras and delivering good news, sometimes hard to hear, but good news about the efforts that they're doing here. But that passion and that heartfelt love and mission to protect his community does not stop here. And I often think the Polk County Sheriff's Office doesn't get the credit behind the scenes for the intricate, detailed, sophisticated crime work that they are doing that allows Sheriff Grady Judd to stand at this podium. I have never seen such great collaboration like this, and so much is due to Sheriff Grady Judd, and not just his support for his law enforcement officers, but he's in the details. He's talking to the chiefs. He's talking to the prosecutors. He knows the line prosecutor. He reads the affidavits. It's very impressive, and Polk County should be extraordinarily proud. He's one of the good guys. And I could not do my job as Attorney General as well as I do to protect Florida, to ensure that it is safe and strong without sheriffs like Grady Judd. We launched last year Star Tips. It was the first in the nation, a one-line, very easy to remember for the whole state of Florida. Anywhere, if you are in a community and you feel like your community is being ravaged by gangs, if you don't feel safe in your neighborhood and you know who is the root of that fear, you can report that anonymously. I would ask anyone that is in a community throughout the state of Florida that is watching this today and wants to be part of the solution to ridding our state from gangs like sex, money, murder, ridding our states from folks that would hold firearms to the heads of young children, to rid our state from evil that should never be able to take root and thrive in a state such as Florida. Join us in our effort to make this state stronger and safer, and dial Star Tips. You heard the sheriff say how this investigation that took down a statewide gang started. It was from one incident. If we have one report from one mom that's concerned about her community, think about what we might be able to do with that information. So thank you so much for those of you that are here today that took the time to come out and join us for this important announcement. You are also a part of the reason we will make Florida the strongest and safest state in the nation.
Thank you. Thank you, Sheriff, for the opportunity to be part of this today. I can tell you at times, unfortunately, criminal activity, organized criminal activity often involves individuals in the general public working in concert with individuals in our custody and communicating on various crimes. You may ask how that happens, and if I could reach over here, I'll show you an example of a small communications device that we repeatedly combat, trying to keep these type of devices out of our secure perimeters and through various means. But I can tell you that disrupting these criminal networks requires effective communications and strong partnerships, as you see here today, with our law enforcement community. When it comes to working collaboratively with the Florida Department of Corrections, I can think of no better example than the consistent commitment that is offered by the Polk County Sheriff's Department. They just continue to draw the line in the sand when it comes to criminal activity, both inside of our fences and outside of our fences. We're extremely appreciative. I'd like to especially thank Sheriff Grady Judd for his leadership and his commitment to and dedication to public safety. We're also very appreciative of our partnerships with Attorney General Atty, Moody, our state attorneys, our statewide prosecutors, the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, and I would once again like to recognize Senior Analyst Christy Dolan. Just a remarkable job she does, specifically in this case. Her support in providing actionable intelligence contributed greatly to an arrest, and I would just appreciate her hard work. Also, as many of you know, there's thousands of men and women across Florida working for the Florida Department of Corrections who do a remarkable job every day on behalf of our communities. I'm proud to represent them as their secretary and stand here today and thank them for the work that they do. But specifically as it relates to this case, this would not have happened without strong partnerships, strong collaboration, and with the men and women standing here. And we're proud to be a part of it in the Department of Corrections. And we look forward to continuing partnerships with you all as we continue to advance our public safety mission. Thank you.
Good morning. I just want to say that I'm very honored to be here with our Attorney General, Ashley Moody, and our Sheriff Grady Judd, and all the great folks that are up here. You know, I think it's pretty safe to say that the criminals don't respect jurisdictional boundaries. They're not concerned about where the one agency's responsibilities start and another one's end. And that's why this task force and our working together, not just across our jurisdiction here in Polk County and in the 10th Circuit, but across the state. And it's because of the strong leadership of our Attorney General, Ashley Moody, that allows that to happen. And putting the absolute best folks on this has been critical to having the success that we've had. and locally here to have the partnership that we have not only with FDLE, but with our sheriff's office and Sheriff Judd and all the wonderful people that work for him, our local police departments. That's what matters. We've got to realize that it is a team effort, and that's what the criminals are not counting on us doing. And when we do these types of things, it sends a message to them. And the work continues from here. This is a great accomplishment, but there's a lot more to be done. So thank you all for being here.
There we go. Good morning. Thank you, Sheriff General Moody and Secretary Dixon. FDLE is pleased to join our partners here today to announce the arrest of members associated with the criminal street gang known as Sex Money Murder. This gang has been a thorn in the side of Central Florida communities for years. The crimes including conspiracy to commit murder, racketeering, aggravated battery on law enforcement, trafficking and sale of narcotics, possession of firearms, just to name a few. We became involved in this case, as the sheriff said, in May of 21, when we were asked to assist them with targeting this gang. We brought both investigative and analytical assistance and resources to this multi-jurisdictional public safety threat. This investigation included coordination with the Florida Department of Corrections, as Secretary Dixon mentioned, which allowed us to confirm gang affiliations within the correctional system. On April 8th, the investigative team executed simultaneous search warrants in Orlando, Mount Dora, Lake City, and Polk County. These warrants allowed us to seize narcotics, gang paraphernalia, firearms, and U.S. currency. This evidence confirmed the statewide footprint of this gang. FDLE is committed to working with our partners like the Polk County Sheriff's Office, Attorney General Ashley Moody's office, the Office of Statewide Prosecution to eradicate these criminal street gangs who quite honestly wreak havoc on our communities. I've been in this business for 26 years, and this investigation utilized almost every imaginable investigative tool that we have. I'd like to personally thank the guys in the back and the folks up here, this investigative team. You guys showed great dedication, patience, and professionalism while investigating this gang. Sex Money Murder thought they were a very good gang, but I can assure you the folks back there and up here, we're a much better gang. Much better. Thank you, Sheriff.
We stand up here today as leaders of this organization and talk about the great work of the men and women in law enforcement. But they are the ones that had to face these guns to get them off the streets. And the police officers and deputies and agents around this state and nation are facing guns from folks like this that don't mind shooting, because obviously they don't mind staying in prison for very long times. This gun will never be used again by a sex money murder person to rob, to kill, to point at our deputies, because some one of these great guys took the risk. But let me go through the organizational chart, because as we've talked today, I want to once again emphasize how remarkable it is that we took down the entire hierarchy for sex, money, murder in the state of Florida. Let's talk about Hernando Thompson. He's 36. He's called the commissioner of sex, money, murder for the state of Florida, or he's also known as the High. What's his nickname? His AKA, T-Murder. Isn't that appropriate? T-Murder. He's charged with racketeering. Oh, by the way, he's running. He's on the lam. He's wanted. So as folks look at this guy, understand he's going to prison for the rest of his life. You might as well call Crime Stoppers and turn him in and make some cash, because we're going to catch him and we're not going to stop looking for him until we do. So the sooner we get him actually in jail, because he's already charged with racketeering, the better. But he is the head guy in Florida. And then there's Jonathan Fleming. We arrested him in North Carolina. He's the commissioner for the entire state of North Carolina, the number one guy in the state. He's the High there. That's right. What's he known as? His name is Pistol. You see a trend here with their names? He's in for no bond. This guy doesn't even have a criminal history. He was pretty darn good. He was pretty insulated by other people in the sex, money, murder. He's got a criminal history now. We plan to put him in the state prison system for the rest of his life. Then there's James Roundtree. He's the second in command. They call him the Low, but he's the second in command for the entire state of Florida. His AKA, or his nickname, is Damager. We've also charged him with RICO, conspiracy to RICO, 3 counts of direct criminal activity. He's in the Columbia County Jail. He's from Lake City, Florida. He's got a long criminal history, and he's been to prison before. Then there is the Florida prison leader. He's currently in prison. He's called the High Behind the G Wall, or the Gangster Wall. He's the high in the prison. What's his AKA? What's his nickname? Murder Guns. That's right. Well, he was scheduled to get out. He's currently in the Santa Rosa CI in North Florida. He was scheduled to get out in 2030. Newsflash, we're going to do our best to give you the rest of your life in prison so you can be the leader high or the gang leader in prison. And Mr. Dixon's folks are probably not going to be happy with that, but he runs the gang in the prison. And then there's Tanisha Fisher. She's 36. She's the First Lady of Florida. That's right. That's what they call her. You know why? Because she's the significant other of Donahue Thompson, known as Murder Guns. She's called Lady Guns. That's right. We've charged her with RICO 2 counts, enhanced. She, we hope, stays in prison for the rest of her life. She is the one that was collecting the dues. There is an organized hierarchy and structure and business administration to sex, money, murder. She also booked the national gang meeting that happened in Osceola County during our wiretap. They call it the Whoop. Now, it's nice of them to have a national meeting. It's even better if they hold a national meeting while we're up on a T3 monitoring you. Oh, and we got this nice picture of them where a bunch of the gang members from all over were smiling. I don't know if they'll be smiling after they get their life sentence. We'll see. She was also known as smuggling K2 into the prisons. That's right. She would take religious material such as this, spray K2 on it, and smuggle it into the prison so that they would have narcotics in the prison. She's from Mount Dora. Then we got Andre Romeus. He's 30. He's the Polk County leader. They call him the 5th floor. He's the highest level leader in the county. And I go to my gang experts, why the 5th floor? He said, that's as tall as their organized gang is. So, heck, who knows? Maybe they'll grow to the 6th floor now. I'm certain they're going to be fighting over position as these guys are arrested. He's charged with conspiracy to RICO and 3 counts of directing criminal activity. He likes to sell high-grade cannabis to help float the organization or the gang. He flies to California. And you know why he does high-grade cannabis? Because he says, hey, man, that stays under the radar. You know, that stays under the radar. You get into that cocaine stuff, people get to watching you. Andre, we're watching. Then there's Serena Mixon. Serena Mixon is or was the secretary of Polk County. We're not sure. She may not now be because they got on to her about partying too much, drinking too much, and running her mouth too much. But what's her AKA? Murder Bay, Kodak Bay, Baby Guns. Really sweet kind of girl, you know. Now that everybody else is in prison, she may be looking for another boyfriend. Well, we hope that the next one she finds is also locked up in prison forever. She's from Lakeland, but she was kind of wild. Now, you got to be wild to be too wild for sex, money, murder. You know what I'm saying? They just didn't trust her. Loose lips sink ships. Just saying. Then there's Horatio Walker. He's 24. He's known as Dumbway or Slime Baby. Now, couldn't the dude get like something that's more trendy than that? But old Slime Baby here is charged with RICO with a gang enhancement, conspiracy to RICO, and he's also charged with witness and gang tampering and violation of probation. He's from Lakeland. See, these folks intimidate witnesses. That's what makes it difficult, because we're trying to prosecute cases where the victims are scared, the neighbors are scared, the witnesses are scared, because these people have established themselves as, we really will kill you. That's not just idle talk. That's what makes them so dangerous in the community. And then there's Tyrese Cruz. He's known as Cooley. He's charged with RICO and 2 counts of directing. He's currently in the processing center in custody. He's from Bartow. Antonio Taylor, his nickname is Red Rum. Think about that, Red Rum. Well, spelled backwards, that's murder. We've arrested him for 4 counts of recruiting gang members. He's in Jackson CI for armed burglaries. He's from Winter Haven. And then there's Rodney Street. We've got him charged with RICO, conspiracy, no bond. He's already in jail for another home invasion. He's got a previous 125 felonies. And he's only been to prison 1 time. And you say, how can that be? I haven't researched all 125 felonies, but I can tell you how that can be, because they've scared and intimidated the witnesses not to talk against them. He's from Lakeland. And then there's Xavier Ulysses. He's still wanted. We've got charges of conspiracy to commit murder against him. And here's the deal. We're up on the wire monitoring, and Xavier has gone through the chain, and we've listened to it, to get permission to hit a victim. That's right, to kill a victim, to kill him. Well, obviously, ethically and morally, we can't sit there and listen to a murder about to occur without intervening. So we've already planned of how to intervene. So we came upon the victim, who is another gangbanger, and he's actually a member of Sex, Money, Murder. They'll even turn and eat their young. They don't care. And as a result, he blew us off. Well, we continued to get calls, and the next thing we know, they're on him again. And the guy said, I almost got him at a red light last time. I'm on him. I'm going to kill him. We're going to take him out. Well, we ran him down again, our victim, not him. We ran our victim down, tried to stop him, to warn him. He rammed our patrol car. So our victim has now committed an aggravated assault against us while we're trying to keep his butt alive. So we at least had a reason to arrest him. So we arrested him and thought, he's safe. Xavier's outside, he's inside, we're okay. Well, they got him in jail. We got him in jail. They tried to kill him in jail. We got more communications. So we had to put him in what we call a safer environment to keep anybody from killing our victim, because they were after the guy. He's not cooperating. He's not. We're trying to keep the dude alive, keep this guy from killing him, and he's not cooperating. I can't thank Chief Jim Alinsky, Chief Andy Ray from the Auburndale Police Department, Jim Alinsky from Haines City, or Assistant Chief David Black, who are with us today from Lake Wales, enough for their cooperation on the task force. But as I close today, I want to make sure everyone understands clearly and unequivocally, our gang task force is alive and well. We've started going to the homes of the gangbangers and sitting in the living room with mom and or dad or both. One mother said, "I am so pleased that you're out here trying to arrest my son, because I would rather have him alive in jail than dead in the streets, and he's going to be dead in the streets if something doesn't change. Even though he's a juvenile, he's a grown man. I can't control him." We've had others, parents, slam the door in our face when we tried to tell them, "Help us control your kid so we don't have to arrest him." Well, make sure you understand, if you slam the door in our face, we're going to make your son a top priority to go to jail, because we're going to keep him alive. We're not going to let other kids shoot him up in the street. So we're talking and educating and investigating, but at the end of the day, this gang task force is a priority, because we're not going to let kids kill kids in this county. Anything else? Any parting words, General?
No, I would just say we've been warning all through the last month about some of the more deadly drugs that are flooding into Florida, laced with some of the traditional drugs. I mean, you'll see here the number of, firearms that were recovered. The types of drugs span from cocaine, crack, methamphetamine. You're seeing cannabis here, but I also can tell you there were synthetic cannabinoids involved. There was fentanyl involved, enough to kill thousands of people. What is important about this gang, it was particularly violent. You always see drugs connected to violence like this, so don't let anyone ever tell you that drug trafficking is harmless. It kills people in communities in Florida every day. But I would close by saying, in addition to the traditional drugs that we're recovering, we are now seeing these deadly synthetics. And these synthetic opioids, a very, very small amount can kill. They're being laced with traditional drugs. And you can see, as we're recovering it with the traditional drugs, that it is not contained. And we're going to keep recovering it as we infiltrate more and more organizations like this in Florida. Our warning goes out again. Do not take illicit drugs. What is in a drug? You will never know. They are flooding into our country now, and they are deadlier than ever. So thank you again to the law enforcement officers here today who are taking down some extraordinarily dangerous people, and there's no doubt that you are saving lives as a result.
Any questions before we go?
Sheriff, I just kind of an obvious question. I just want to clarify so we use the right language. Is this sex, money, murder based in Polk County, or does it have a strong presence in Polk County?
It is not based in Polk County. In fact, the head of the organization is from Orlando. But what we did with these court-ordered intercept is we were looking to take the hierarchy out, if in fact they were committing the crimes that we suspected, but we could not get to them any other way. So this is a statewide operation. This is not a Polk County centered. If it were just Polk County, FDLE has a lot of other cases they could have worked on. We couldn't have done this without FDLE and without our Attorney General. Understand, usually when we present a wiretap or a court-ordered intercept investigation, we're focusing on drugs or guns. What we were focusing on with this wire intercept was not guns or drugs, but it was gang hierarchy, gang organization, gang recruitment, so that we could disrupt the operation. And I would suggest, when you've got the entire chain of command charged with life felonies. Our detectives and agents did a heck of a job disrupting the organization. After all, the guy who's in charge today, he's not trying to run an organization, he's running. He's wearing out shoes right now trying to get away from us.
And you mentioned 2 unsolved homicides, that Shay Collins and Alfonso Payne, and are you tying them to this gang directly?
We don't know that,
Okay.
but we suspect that it's gang related. We highly suspect that it's gang related. We're not sure which gang, but we know this: either people aren't talking or are afraid to talk. In one case, we're confident who the shooter is. We don't have any details. But I'm telling you what, when you look at a guy that's facing life in prison and say, hey, we'll swap you, we'll let you do 30 years in life if you'll give up the murder instead of life, it has a way of making very good witnesses in exchange for maybe just a 30-year sentence as opposed to a life sentence.
Do you think there's already people stepping in to take these people's roles? And if so, what would you say to them?
What I would say to them is they're probably scrambling. Well, first off, they're probably watching this. Hello, gangsters. We'll be to see you soon. They're scrambling because there's always a hierarchy fight. They're probably scrambling for who's going to take over since these guys are going to be out of the picture. So we think it's a disruptive effort. But the reality of it is, we don't want young folks killing young folks or robbing or stealing or shooting up their communities. And that's part of this. But yes, I think it's a major disruption for the time being. Does this wipe out the gang? I wish I could stand up here and say, yes, it doesn't. But it staggers them for a time being, and it also gives us the opportunity to get more investigative leads, to go further with the case and make other charges. Oh yeah, and by the way, this is just the beginning. You see that? Investigation to be continued. For those of you watching today, we may have charges for you, or we may have more charges for you.
Sheriff, you mentioned some of them are in their teen ages. What can parents do so their children don't get involved with these gangs?
Oh, thank you very much. That's one of the things that scare us when we see 2 gangs shooting it out and find out they're 15 and 17 years old. Well, it's not legal to have a gun. Where did you get the gun? It's usually a stolen gun or a stolen gun that's not been reported. We tell parents, there is no Fourth Amendment protection in your house. You need to be all up in your child's business. You need to be searching their backpacks, their guns, or their backpacks for guns. You need to be searching their bedrooms. You need to be searching their cars. You need to know who their kids are hanging out with, and stop that. You're in charge of your children. Step in and be a parent. If you're a good parent, you can be friends later on. But if you don't stop your child, someone in the streets capable of shooting or killing them, or they're capable of shooting or killing or robbing someone else, and at 16, 17, 15 years old, you have a long life ahead of you when you're convicted of one of those charges. And that long life, will be in prison if the parents don't stop.
Do you have a video, Sheriff?
We do have a video. I'm sorry, I meant to show that early on. While we were wrapping this up, here's what happened last night in a nice neighborhood. In the daylight. This would be... That's just outside the city limits, about 2 blocks. We don't have the shooters yet, but we got the car. We're on their trail, and we received a lot of help from the Lakeland Police Department, who recognized the car when we gave the broadcast. So let's look at that one more time. Can we redo it? Watch, they pull up, they survey the house, they get out, mask on, and shoot the place up. In the afternoon. in the afternoon. Fully on or semi-automatic rifles. Okay?
Is that believed to be the gang as well?
We know that's not part of sex, money, murder that we're aware of, but we have leads that it's another local gang.
What was the outcome of, was anybody harmed in that?
No one was hurt in this particular one, but do you think that that terrorizes a neighborhood and terrorizes the people who they're mad at? Somebody didn't pay a drug deal or a drug bill and it's just, we don't know exactly why, but we do have the car. And we have strong leads as to who those young men were. But that's what we're seeing. And we're not going to allow kids to shoot up each other or shoot up neighborhoods. It's just not happening. And if we have to keep you in and out of jail, we'll do that. We'd rather see you alive in jail than dead on the streets.
You said there was a gang member meeting. Where was that meeting held?
It was in Osceola County. It was called the Whoop. And we can give you further information on that over in Kissimmee.
And those associates, they were arrested there? Or?
No, they weren't arrested. They were at the gang meeting. Whichever one.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Okay? Thank you very much.
Is she still here? The attorney
No, she's
general?
gone. I think she had another appointment.
Is it just generally fair to say that through this investigation, the hierarchy of sex, money, murder in Florida has been dismantled or?
They have all been, there's a couple of them still that are wearing out shoes that we'll catch. But they're all locked up. They are locked up and we're going to try them. Yes, the goal is to dismantle the hierarchy, and that's what these fine detectives and agents did through their investigation. Okay?
Sheriff, before we go, can we get everyone who spoke to say their name and their position?
Sure. You know our state attorney.
Brian Haas, State Attorney for the 10th Circuit, HAAS.
Ricky Dixon, Secretary, Florida Department of Corrections.
Mark Brutnell, Special Agent in Charge for FTLE, BRUTNELL.
Thank you very much. See y'all.
You can have whatever opinion you want about drugs. I remember in high school, way back in the Stone Age, that there were people back then that tried to make the allegation that, oh, marijuana is harmless. It's not like the worst drugs. And in a matter of a decade, the most abused drug was Vicodin, something that you got from the doctor. You see, that's the point. It doesn't matter what you think. Because if you're under the influence of drugs, you've lost the ability to think. That's right. If you're under the influence of drugs, even cannabis, you no longer have the ability to think. All that you have is the ability to arrange your life in a way that makes sure you get your next fix. Because that is your entire goal when you start using drugs. Every decision you will make will be predicated on, will this interfere with my ability to use drugs or not? And if it does, you don't do it. If it doesn't, then you do it. That's why people who use drugs of all kinds are easy to pick out of society. They're simple to pick out of society. Nobody walks around going, oh gosh, well, I don't know if taking that job or doing or living over, if that's going to interfere with my ability to drink coffee. No. People don't do that. Very few people out there who have the occasional beer on the weekend with the boys, they don't predicate their entire life around that. But if you're a drug user, if you're a cannabis user, I guarantee your entire life is predicated on doing things that don't interfere with your marijuana use. And don't tell me that that's not the case. And that puts you right in the realm of the drug dealers and the drug traffickers. They're going to know exactly where to find you. They'll be able to pick you out of a crowd. Drug users dress a certain way. They act a certain way. They choose certain things at the grocery store. They don't choose others. It's real simple because it's all the same. The brain is the brain. The human brain is the human brain, and marijuana is marijuana. And I grow my own and I use it for my osteoarthritis. You see, it's those stupid arguments like that, those ridiculous arguments like that, that are going to get people killed. And the reality is this: Florida's going to stop allowing shit like that. Because there's always the guy that grows a little bit more than what he needs to share with that friend down the street or that girlfriend. And they think, maybe just a little bit extra just for this one friend or this other couple of friends. Oh, it doesn't rule my life. Oh, baloney. It's crap. It's crap. People just make excuses. People just make excuses. And Florida is going to start to put on a clinic, just like we have in every other way, about what good governance is all about. And we're going to start to make it incredibly dangerous and unprofitable for the gangs to operate here. And that's just the reality of it. In one fell swoop, we took out the literal entire hierarchy of one of the most dangerous gangs in Orlando. Because we have stopped caring about what the feds are going to do or not going to do. Or what the impression is, or we've not bought into this bullshit about, oh, just let people do whatever they want to do, and that's liberty and freedom. No. Absolutely not. So I thought it would be a good thing to share today to show that there is more than just the governor at work in Florida. The reason people are coming here, the reason we're at a 50-year low in crime. Exactly right. If you can't live sober, then don't move to Florida. If you can't live a sober, intelligent life, then don't move to Florida. So, just wanted to cover all the questions that were asked and all the statements that were made in the chat, just to make sure that all I's are dotted and T's are crossed, so to speak. So, anyway, I hope everyone has had a wonderful week. I think we'll have a video up a little bit later. But freedom does have rules. Yeah, exactly right. You have to have some sense of decency and honor and integrity. So, I will leave it there. God bless. Like, share, subscribe. Thank you so much, Ashley Moody, for doing stuff like this to help keep us safe.